thing.
It's my pleasure.
You're a glutton for punishment. Hi,
Brian.
Amy. Hi, Dan.
Eric, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
Heather Hamilton needs you to send her recordings of our meetings, though.
Yes, we will do it.
I sent them. She had them all.
Thank you. Yeah, she texted me at 2 o'clock in the morning last night. I don't know why.
She emailed at 2:30, and I had already shared. She was only missing 1 month. She just wasn't checking where they are.
Hey, I passed on the message.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian or Amy, did you have a chance to distribute my comments to the committee before to the board before the meeting?
I did.
You did? Okay, great.
Well, we only have 2 board members right now, so we don't have a quorum. Sorry, John.
It seems I'm not a big draw. That's true at select board meetings too. So
As soon as we get a quorum, I look
yeah,
forward.
no, I got time.
But OML, man.
I can send my comments then to you guys for your records too then, okay?
Jesse, we always like to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
That's good because he's gonna have a lot to say.
Well, we're in for a treat tonight then.
He and I are competing to get the attendance award at transportation related meetings.
There you go. Yeah,
There's a prize you don't want to win.
that's right. Yeah. Someone might, say, think about your priorities in life.
Yeah.
It's just that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys here.
1, 2, 3. 3. We need one more.
I just emailed the other 3.
Well, Nancy can't be on till 7.
That's right.
And so Wendy or
For sure.
yeah, I was gonna say Shanali, but no, not Shanali.
Mm.
There's Wendy. Hey, Wendy, welcome. Okay, I call this meeting of the Transportation Board for the town of Brookline to order. It is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025 at approximately 6:32 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. As we always do, we will take public comments. If there is an item you'd like to comment on that is on the agenda, please wait till we discuss that item individually. So that we'll do a public comment for each item. However, if there are folks who would like to make sort of more general comments, we'd love to hear those now. And our esteemed select board member, John Van Scoyoc, had asked me in advance. So John, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Amy, and thank you, members of the board. Good evening. As those of you on this board know, but just to put it on the record of the meeting, I'm John Van Scoyoc, a member of the Select Board who also serves as the Select Board's vice chair. As is the Transportation Board, I'm an enthusiastic supporter of Vision Zero, which is on your agenda tonight. Going back to when Todd Corain was in the position now held by Amy, I worked with Todd and with Brian Kane to think through the process of launching the Vision Zero Committee. And the Vision Zero Action Plan, which your board will hear presented by a consultant tonight, was produced with uncommon speed, I must say, as these things go in Brookline. Just over a year since the Vision Zero Committee started to meet, and we now have a Vision Zero Action Plan. During that period, the awakening in Brookline to the need to expedite street maintenance projects has moved even faster. And to their credit, leadership in the DPW have recognized that the Complete Streets program, which the Vision Zero Action Plan very much borrows from, came with downsides. In short, Complete Streets projects consume extra resources of staff time, consulting budgets, and complex infrastructure investment. Over time, that combination has proved nearly unsustainable. Brookline's list of neglected streets has been growing, while the timetables and the costs of prioritized complete street projects have been stretching to the breaking point. Earlier this year, DPW leadership responded to the deferred street maintenance backlog with a bold turnaround in their approach. A revamped roadway maintenance and preservation program was launched with an ambitious commitment to funding. At the same time, a preferred subset of complete streets was identified in recognition that not every street maintenance project needs to fall under complete streets. The goals of Vision Zero are daunting, even as the new reality of Brookline's acceleration of routine maintenance and upkeep of streets unfolds. And I, for one, will focus on two essentials while watching the rollout of Vision Zero. Number one, addressing Brookline's backlog of under-maintained streets will require full funding and nothing less for years to come. Yes, Vision Zero projects can and should go forward when extraordinary funding is available, but only then, not by sacrificing maintenance and preservation. And number two, staff resources are an important element of the equation. The extra planning that Vision Zero projects require should be reflected in careful prioritization of projects according to, yes, safety first, but also the constraints of staff time and attention. And I want to be clear that I'm speaking as one member of the Select Board, but also please keep in mind that the Select Board fully supports the DPW's recent rebalancing of the town's commitment to road maintenance and to complete streets. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, John. Appreciate your time tonight. Thank you, as always, for all you do for us.
And forgive me for an early departure because I was given this time because I've got a commitment at 7 and I won't be with you for the rest of the meeting, but good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
I neglected to take a roll call, which we are supposed to do. So let's do that now. Doesn't negate your comments, John. Don't worry.
I get that.
Let's see. Amy, do you mind calling the roll, or Sam, or someone?
Sure. Wendy,
Here.
Richard, Jonathan,
Here.
and Lynn,
Here.
and Brian.
I am also here. Thank you, Amy. And I think Nancy will be joining us later. We'll put that on the record when she joins. So this is the public comment period for items not on the agenda, that are not on the agenda. Let's hear from our best bike riding friend, Mr. David Krupp. Go ahead, David.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is David Krupp. I'm a resident of Precinct 8. I'm also the president of Biking Brookline, but I'm speaking for myself this evening. I would like to address the materials that were posted on the town's website today in advance of the May 8th neighborhood meeting that's going to take place to discuss Chestnut Hill Avenue. As many of you will recall, back in March, the staff presented a plan at the Bicycle Advisory Committee for Chestnut Hill Avenue that involved protected bike lanes on both sides of Chestnut Hill Avenue. And at that meeting, there were a number of concerns expressed about both the process, its inclusiveness, notice to the public, and also there were some people who were opposed to the plan, but there were also many people who supported the plan, including abutters. The outcome of that meeting was that the town staff said that they would go off and come up with some more options, which they have now done, and they've scheduled a meeting for May 8th. But unfortunately, although they've posted 3 options, none of those options involve a protected bike lane on Chestnut Hill Avenue. And my question, quite simply, is why not? Isn't that the whole point of the meeting, to solicit feedback, to get feedback from the public as to what they would like to see on Chestnut Hill Avenue? Why is that option not being presented to the public as a potential redesign for Chestnut Hill Avenue? Much was said that people didn't know about this process and even that was going on. I mean, that includes a lot of people, including a lot of people who would like to see protected bike lanes on Chestnut Hill Avenue. So my request is really quite simple. Please amend the agenda for your May 8th meeting. Put the plan that was at the March Bike Advisory Committee on that agenda so the public can have an opportunity to see all the options that are available on Chestnut Hill Avenue, and the town can listen to those public comments and then make the decision based on that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Hi, Emily. Go ahead, please. Nope, Emily, you just dropped off. Do you not want to comment? Okay. We can always hear from you later if need be. Andrew Fisher, my favorite lawyer. Go ahead, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kane. I speak not tonight as a lawyer, but I'll identify myself as Andrew Fisher, town meeting member from Precinct 13 for many years. There is a lot of support for the kind of bicycle facility that was proposed on Chestnut Hill Avenue from Precinct 13 and from a broader area based upon the corridor that Chestnut Hill Avenue serves, connecting various bikeways that congeal at the Cleveland Circle and allow transit by bicycle, currently not in a safe way, to the Chestnut Hill, to the reservoir and further south. There was a plan adopted by, designed by the Transportation Board. I'm sorry, by the Transportation Planning Department that contained protected bike lanes akin to what the town I believed, was looking to as a standard, as a safety standard. There's a lot of support for that within my precinct, among my constituents, and in a broader area. And I have the same question that David raised. Why the proposed plan has disappeared? It seems to me that that should be the first consideration, and when the discussion begins, and it's disappeared from the table. So I echo David Group's comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Hi, Emily Jacobson, you're back. Please go ahead. We'd love to hear from you.
Emily, could you unmute, please?
Zoom malfunction. I'm Emily Jacobson. I'm the chair of the Bicycle Advisory Committee and resident of Precinct 5. I'm also here to speak in reference to the recently released plans for Chestnut Hill Avenue. The BA saw the previous iteration of these plans, which had bollard-protected bike lanes along most of the length of Chestnut Hill Avenue. This would have the effect of slowing cars down considerably towards the currently posted speed, which they exceed routinely at the moment. And it would create a safe place for people to bike on Chestnut Hill Avenue. Chestnut Hill Avenue is identified in the Green Routes Bicycle Plan as a key route requiring protected bicycle infrastructure. And you'll also notice that it's part of the Vision Zero high-risk network, which you will be seeing tonight. The committee spoke favorably about the plans and gave several suggestions about intersections. There were several members of the public who also spoke in favor of the plans, and there were also members of the public who were concerned about changes to the roadway. I saw the updated plans recently. One of the alternatives doesn't even have bike lanes. The two other alternatives have what I would consider to be substandard bike lanes for a road with traffic volumes like those on Chestnut Hill Avenue. The changes appear to have been made in favor of adding a substantial amount of parking along Chestnut Hill Avenue where no legal parking currently exists and where most houses have ample driveways. This runs counter to town policy and is quite a dramatic change from the plans that we've previously seen. I hope that the Transportation Division will be presenting an alternative at least one alternative with safe bike lanes along the whole length of the street for presentation at the neighborhood meeting on May 6th, and also for consideration by the Transportation Board at its meeting next month. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Dr. Hefter, go ahead, please, sir.
Thank you. Just a note on the end of Emily's presentation. That date is actually May 8th. May 6th is Election Day. So thank you, Brian, and thank you, members of the Transportation Board. I'm also going to be speaking about a comment or two about Chestnut Hill Avenue. You already know me as Jesse Hefter, resident of Chestnut Hill Avenue since 1989, town meeting member from Precinct 14, member of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of our neighborhood. Chestnut Hill Avenue is a key Brookline connector, linking Alston Brighton with Route 9 and points south, including Jamaica Plain and West Roxbury. Per town data, it carries up to 15,000 vehicles per workday. With the Transportation Board soon considering a final design proposal for renovating the avenue, we'd like to share key concerns ahead of upcoming meetings, including the hybrid session on next week, May 8th. Thus far, there's been only one neighborhood meeting held within the Bicycle Advisory Committee session back on March 5th. That allowed some input on engineering's initial design. That proposal led to a neighborhood petition signed by over 65 neighborhood abutters and residents with serious concerns about different elements of the conceptual approach to the redesign. Following a Zoom meeting with DPW Commissioner Shute, engineering committed to revising the design and acknowledging residents' concerns. Updated plans were released just today, which after initial review don't reflect the concerns of abutters and nearby residents. We remain concerned about claims of high-speed travel, creating unsafe conditions for users of the avenue. We obtained data from the Brookline Police Department between 2020 and 2025 that show just one speeding violation during a construction project. We also obtained data from the Brookline Police Department and the state between 2020 and 2025, and crash statistics show only one bicycle-related incident in those 5 years. And it turns out that the cyclist, unfortunately, was the individual at fault in the collision with the vehicle. These facts, and it was in a crosswalk. These facts don't support assertions of major safety risks at all for drivers, pedestrians, or bikers. Significant changes as well are being proposed at the Buckminster intersection due to the presence of an MBTA Route 51 stop. Yet, to date, no data have been provided justifying the need for spending capital dollars on that work. We acknowledge that there are differing views on how best to use the renovation funds. Relocating the bike lanes to Clinton and Elliott Streets rather than using Chestnut Hill Avenue could enhance safety, especially for students at the Hayes K-8 school, and offer a safe route to school for those students, as well as a safer route for bicyclists who currently use Clinton and Elliott Streets as a safe route between Cleveland Circle to Route 9. Finally, ultimately, we hope to maintain the avenue's functionality for all users, especially the overwhelmingly vast majority, cars, trucks, first responder, emergency vehicles, who rely on it daily, and the residents who walk, live, and park in and around their homes. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate your comments. Andrew Gordon, I see your hand is up. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just to make sure, the Bridle Path Committee, if I'm correct, we were invited to make a statement if we wanted to join that committee tonight. Is that accurate?
Yep, so we'll take that item up later in the agenda. This
My
is the sort
apologies.
of general, no worries. This is the general comment period, so you can comment on generals if you want. No.
Great.
But
No, I'll
we'll
wait
make
till
sure
then.
we get to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
No worries, thank you. Dan Martin, wow, a rare public comment from staff. Thank you,
Not a
Dan.
public comment, but just to let Andrew know, I think he's applying as a resident representative, and we're going to be appointing those people at a later meeting. Tonight, we're just appointing committee and advisory representative.
There you go. Dan, you the man. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on items not on the agenda? Wow, Len.
When would be a good time for the board to discuss some of the comments made by the public?
Why don't we talk about it now? Because we're gonna have to talk about it at some point, and it's better to do it now than under new business. Oh, though, wait a second. Can we do that with the agenda the way it is? I think we have to wait till new business, which is unfortunate. Unless, can I take the chair's prerogative and move agenda item 7 to now? So we can talk about it. We'll talk about new business now and not later. Okay, so I'm going to take the chair's prerogative and I'm going to move agenda item, I think it's 7, which is new business, to be the first item on the agenda. Now, we're not taking any votes. Just want to be very clear. We're just going to discuss it at a member's request. So, Len, since you brought it up, why don't you kick us off with new business?
So my thoughts on Chestnut Hill, I would like to see the option at least presented that has the protected bike lanes.
Okay, thanks, Len. Would anyone else on the board like to talk about this right now? Wendy.
I guess I'm just curious if the town reps have a response. Is there a reason that we should know about as we discuss this for why the plan was taken off?
So I'll step in quickly here. The original plan was never taken off the website. It's still on the website. What people are referencing is just the 3 new alternatives that were added. There's obviously been a lot of conversation around this project, and it's a road that's going to get resurfaced this year. And you know, we've learned a lot in terms of the amount of public process needed for a project like this. So definitely a point of reflection here, to be, to start, definitely start way earlier next time. That's for sure. And so the feedback from the public was just if there was no parking added to the project, that it would just automatically get appealed to the select board, which is what we're trying to avoid. So we've worked with consultants to put together concepts. Yes, the first alternative is basically the change nothing. It adds the pedestrian safety improvements and the new Clinton Road bump out, which is a really great addition. But it doesn't add any bike safety improvements. So that is one alternative, because but then options 2 and 3 do add bike improvements, but it's a protected bike lane in one direction and a door side bike lane for approximately 50% in the other direction. And it does add back, it does retain designated parking, which we can go back and forth on the current parking situation, on the tree lawn right now. But the alternatives 2 and 3 do specifically designate parking. I think alternative 2 is the one that maintains it all on the south side, and then alternative 3 alternates between the south and the north.
So we don't have to go through each scenario here.
All right, sorry.
Yeah,
there's just a lot of history.
Okay,
Yeah,
but so
I
it's
get
not off the table is the takeaway.
It's not off the table, and I'm going to talk with Amy and Dan tomorrow about it briefly, but the plans are still online. So sorry for giving more info than.
Oh, it's okay.
No worries.
And I guess my follow-up question, and maybe this is for the Vision Zero discussion, is that it would be helpful to understand kind of how policies are actually applied. So if we have Vision Zero, but we have complaints, like what trumps what? Like, what does it mean to have a policy? Because this street is talked about in the document that we got. So it'd be good to kind of maybe when we get that presentation to like use it as a case to understand.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think we're always trying to figure out the right amount of neighborhood public involvement, discussion, presentation, policy, mixed policy, politics. So I think it's more an art than a science, but yeah, we should definitely talk about that, Wendy.
Speaking of, if I can really briefly just comment to
Yeah.
Wendy's, just to second what Brian's saying about art, not a science, is like in the Vision Zero plan, which I know it was done in a year, but I think it's been a very robust process, and I think nothing was rushed as part of this. But it's essentially created a toolbox for the department of us being able to select different types of treatments that might apply, that, you know, might benefit a certain road in one location more than another, just in terms of like, what strategies are we going to use? Are we going to use chicaning? Are we going to use speed humps? Are we going to just use rapid flashing beacons? So this like Vision Zero action plan really sets us up to be able to like hand pick what strategies will most benefit safety on a corridor. So really excited about that.
Thank you, Sam. Richard, go ahead, please.
Brian, thank you. Yep, just a quick couple of comments, and it's more about the safety of Chestnut Hill Avenue. Is that, you know, we know what the latest crash data that we get from the Brookline Police. It's well over 100 accidents over a 4-year period that it's had. And just looking for the transportation team, if they also had conversation with the fire chief. I've had some conversation with him, and his concern was congestion towards the Route 9 area and everything. So I just wanted to see if we are bringing him in on the conversation, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So the lanes going to Route 9 are staying the same in terms of the number of lanes. There will still be a through lane. It's 2 lanes heading towards Route 9. So there's no change in. I mean, in the whole Chestnut Hill Ave, or 95% of Chestnut Hill Ave is just 1 lane in both directions. It's just the fact that they're 15 feet wide, and you know, we're proposing that they go down to 10.5 feet. So there's been a lot of people saying that, you know, we're going to create more congestion because the lanes are getting narrower, but it's not like we're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane. So
I think it's just as you get within a couple 100 feet of that Route 9 areas where the traffic backs up and everything. I think that would probably be, you know, the concerning aspect of trying to get through there.
So wait. We're not going to adjudicate this tonight. Okay, Sam? We're not going to do that. So Richard, have you talked to the fire department? It seems like you have.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we talked to the fire department, and I'm sure the fire department and the police department's sentiments will be reflected in any final alternative. Cool. You good, Richard? Okay. Jonathan.
Just for context, when we move into the actual discussion of this in the future, what is the need for the rehabilitation of the pavement? How dire is it?
It's come up. It's been identified based on the PCI as needing bonded wearing surface, and before it starts to deteriorate to a point where we'd have to have a greater, more expensive resurfacing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a preventative measure.
Right. Yeah, this is maintenance.
Okay.
To help prolong its life.
And just remind me, how long does the ultra bonded wearing course last for?
I think it's in the ballpark of 8 years. I will defer to. I'll just confirm. Dan or Amy, I think it's 8 to 10 years. I think is what's that?
If anyone happens is no one overlay.
Yeah, Dan, we're having real trouble hearing you. Sorry.
Oh.
So it's just feeding back on itself.
I heard something Millen overlay.
So it seems like less than a decade, but not much more.
But a significant amount of time. So whatever gets decided here will be there for a while, is what I'm hearing. And that the need for it is not necessarily dire, but it is a preventative measure to spend a little money now instead of, we'll call it more than a little later.
Exactly.
I'll just say, if you can hear me now, it's a mill and overlay. for Chestnut Hill.
Oh,
Ave.
sorry, my fault.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep.
And how long do those last, Dan?
Hmm?
How long do those last?
At least 10 years.
Yeah, 10 plus, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Cool, thank you. Okay.
That just needed the context so that we understand what we're.
Yeah, I got a feeling we're gonna be talking about this street a lot in the future.
You know, some things, as we all remember Babcock Street, so we'll move on from there. That's all. That's all.
That was before, that was in my interregnum, so I don't remember that.
You don't remember it? You covered your ears and hoped for the best.
I remember Washington Street. Anyway, David, second bite of the apple. David, go ahead, please. We got to move on.
I just want to say, I don't think it's acceptable to say, oh, it's not in the notice for the meeting, but it is posted somewhere else on the website. I mean, isn't this what we're talking about all the time, transparency, and people should be able to find things? And particularly here we have a process where we've been told that it wasn't transparent and people didn't know about it. And now we're hearing, oh, don't worry. The option that you think some people might support, which is protected bike lanes, they can find it somewhere else on the website. It's like, it's not on the ballot, but you know, if they dig, maybe. I just think it's unacceptable. And I just go back to my question. Can you please amend the notice to the meeting to include the option with the protected bike lanes?
So where is the notice for the meeting? Because I didn't receive it.
So an invitation was sent to all town meeting members, and David, I just want to clarify, it's not somewhere else on the website. The plans are still on the Chestnut Hill Ave project page. The original ones are still on that project page. But we haven't set, there isn't an agenda for the meeting on May 8th. We're just discussing the alternatives. And so we will just make sure it's very clear all the alternatives that are still on the project page that we'll be discussing.
Okay. Jonathan, you're back.
Yep, just a note on that, on the notices, being sent to town meeting members. Could I ask that those in the future, and this one also, be sent to transportation board members?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Words out of my mouth there. Well done. Well done.
Sorry, Brian.
No, it's why you're.
I don't want to take any words from you.
No, you can have all the words, please. Wendy, I see your hand.
I just pulled up that notice. And I do see that in the notice, it says the 3 plans will be discussed. Is that, so are there 4 plans?
So I think what Sam is saying is that the bike elements are embedded throughout the 3 plans. And Sam, is that not correct?
So there are bike elements in 2 of the 3, but it's just been brought up in this meeting that there is a request to discuss the alternative that was originally proposed in March. And I can talk with Amy and Dan if we need to send out the invitation for a 3rd time that indicates that there will be 4 options discussed, or whether we will just discuss it. I will confirm that with them tomorrow, but all 4 plans are on the project website.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep.
Emily, go ahead, please. Jonathan, can you put your hand down unless you want to speak again? Steal some more of my words. Emily, go ahead, please.
Hi. So as it has been said, I understand that there is a lot of public discussion around Chestnut Hill Avenue, although the only publicly noticed meeting that I'm aware of so far was the Bicycle Advisory Committee meeting. I have accidentally been a part of discussions at the select board regarding Chestnut Hill Avenue, and apparently there have also been meetings with Commissioner Shute. And so I would just like to say, I think it's very important that this stays a public process and that such meetings are noticed. Thank you.
Absolutely, Emily. Yeah, and just on follow up on that, so I just looked on the Brookline website, go to public meetings, and there's nothing listed for the 8th except a ZBA Chapter 40A public hearing. So maybe we should just err on the side of more notice than less in this case.
It will be on the website tomorrow.
Sweet. Len,
I'm also looking at the website and it says the originally proposed plans and then in parentheses, outdated plans. And then it says here is the outdated plans was with the link here. Is that the original plan?
Yes, and I will edit
Okay.
the website once I talk with Amy and Dan.
Okay, so that it
That
doesn't
is the-
seem to
that
be
is
given
the-
equal attention as the three alternatives. on
Yes,
the
and
website.
that's what I've been saying, and I will discuss with Amy and Dan and make sure that it's in a better positioned location on that website.
Okay, thank you.
John Bowman, and then we really got to move on, folks. Okay, Jesse, you'll be the last. John Bowman, go ahead, please, sir.
I was just going to mention the same thing that Len mentioned, objecting to the reference to the original plan as being outdated.
Great minds think alike. Look at that. Yeah, so I think I mean I can't speak for the staff. I think they've heard us loud and clear, and I'm pretty sure this will be fixed up by tomorrow. Jesse, go ahead, please.
Jesse,
Nope.
you have to unmute.
Jesse, you put your hand down or you put your hand up? Dr. Hefter. There he is. Now your hand's up. Now you're unmuted.
That's good because it said the host had to do it. That's why I couldn't get in.
Cool.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a brief comment. I'm a little concerned about the public statement that Emily just made. It is not required per any law in the town that if a resident speaks to a police officer, if a resident speaks to the fire chief, if a resident speaks to Aaron Shute, that needs to be noticed as a public meeting. That needs to be because it's on any topic in the town that may come up on any agenda at any time in the future. That's just an inaccurate statement, and I don't believe that it's true. So to make a statement that claims that any discussion that anyone has about a transportation issue with anyone in town needs to be noticed as a public meeting doesn't seem to be an accurate statement.
Well, that's not. I didn't hear that. In fairness, Jesse, I didn't hear her say that.
That's what I heard.
I don't want to get into the back and forth.
I understand.
Let's not do the ad hominem thing. We will all follow the open meeting law to the letter and spirit as best as we can, lest Regina Frawley visit us in our nightmares.
Oh, I see you've been there too. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
so,
you.
Amy, you win the prize for the pet visit. Congratulations. It'll be in the mail. Okay, so I'm going to close the discussion on this new business, and which actually was item 6, not item 7. And now we're going to go back to the agenda as it was originally posted before I took the prerogative. So we're going to move on to item number 3, which is action on the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the March 19th meeting, 7 Oakland Road, no parking sign for driveway access, creation of a town hall, lot resident overnight permit program, and the reduction of a 44-foot no parking zone on Hart Street northbound approach to 20 feet to restore a parking space. Does any board member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and discuss it individually?
So one question, Brian.
Yeah.
On Hot Street, I noticed that going back looking on Google Maps, you can see that the handicap parking spot there, is that still in use? Do we know?
That one was for a resident that does not need it anymore, does not live there, does not live actually. And so it was removed. I'm not sure exactly when that was, late last year sometime, I think. Is that right, Dan?
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Nope. That's the only thing I saw was like where they're looking for parking what, you know,
Right.
whether that was utilized or not. All right, great. Thanks, Amy.
Sure.
Okay, I didn't see a huge swell to remove individual items. Anybody have any comments, questions, or issues on the consent agenda as a whole? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and the items within?
So move.
Thank you, Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Len. Amy, since you're unmuted, why don't you call the roll?
Len,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
and Brian.
Yes, 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 yes. Great, thank you. Thank you. That item is approved. We're going to move on to item 4A, which is a member update. Does any board member have any updates to provide to the rest of the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll do the DPW. Oh, sorry, Len, I see your hand up physically and perhaps metaphysically. Go ahead.
The Center Street Lots Committee had its first meeting last week, and we're looking for input from the public in the form of a survey, and there will be many more meetings that we'd be appreciative to have public comment in.
Is there a link to the survey somewhere, Len, that we can share with folks?
Yeah, should I put it in the chat or?
Don't mind, yeah.
Okay.
And then we can maybe pick it up and share it with our individual networks if that's okay with you.
Yes, thank you. I'll add it soon.
Thank you. Okay, DPW update, Dan Murphy.
Can you hear me okay?
Not really, Dan. It's
Can
a
you
little
hear me?
rough. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'll get real close. So yes, let's see. I'll start with pavement maintenance and preservation. As you may have seen, Beacon Street has started out. We're milling out there, and we're doing the center section, pretty much between Washington and Harvard. A little bit extended on the west, because of the outdoor dining last year, and some work we had done. But between basically Washington and Harvard, that work has started. It should be 8 weeks until it's finished. We've got a contract. We're going to get it signed next week at Select Board. It's the long the Tully, Heath, South, and Russet. That'll get signed. We've got a contractor ready to go. We're doing Lowell Reclaim as an independent project, and I believe that's on the street tomorrow with a pickup in a couple weeks. So that's on its way. And then I'll mention, you all know about the May 8th community meeting, so I'll go by that because we talked about it. Sidewalk work is scheduled to start in June. We've got patching and crack sealing bids that will be signed next week at Select Board. And we're hoping to get more sidewalk money as a big capital project this year. We're upping that money so that we can get out ahead on sidewalks. Let's see, APS pedestrian signals. I believe that out for bidding and will be open, I believe, tomorrow. And we put in additionally for a Complete Streets grant for some more funding for that. We had a great meeting today, a full house for the Beacon Street bridle path design. We're really looking at the transition between the Tees project and how we coordinate with the bridle path and how we make sure we have the space and think everything through. So it was a really good meeting with the MBTA consultants and the design builder on that. I think the last thing I'll say is just I'll remind you on Washington Street, the 25% design is scheduled for mid-September. We're making good progress. And just so you know, the advertising date for that project is scheduled for.
I think I might have done that. Sorry.
That's all right.
So
any questions?
We missed Dan say
2028. 2028 is the anticipated.
2028. Even better. Thank you.
July.
Thank you. Questions for Dan Murphy. Welcome,
Okay.
Nancy. Let the record show that our esteemed member Nancy Moore has joined us. Thank you for joining us, Nancy. You missed a spirited discussion about Chestnut Hill Ave, even though it's not on the agenda. So there you go.
I find it suspicious that you showed up right after that.
Good timing. All right, Dan, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
We'll move on to item 5A, which is a presentation and discussion on the Brookline Parks and Open Spaces 2025 public parklet locations.
I love that intro.
I do my best. Take it away, please, Jesse. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm actually just going to share my screen back, hopefully. Everybody, well, just thinking about it. Give it a sec. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see a presentation now, our PowerPoint presentation.
Sure can.
Is it in the weird presentation mode or?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, that's
It
okay.
wasn't.
No, hold on.
As long as you don't have notes about Brian on there.
No, I don't. Now is it right now?
Looks good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Jessie Waisner. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Senior Landscape Architect with the Parks and Open Space Division, and I'm here to talk about our parklet program. So we started our first parklet in 2021. They've been funded through the Mass DOT Shared Streets and Spaces Program and American Recovery and Investment Act funds. Last year we had 4 different locations, 3 in Coolidge Corner, 1 in front of Eureka Puzzles. Whoops, sorry. 1 in front of Eureka Puzzles, 1 in front of the Craft Zone, and then 1 in front of Clearflower. And then we had 1 here in the village at Kidoo Gifts. Wow, this community's got a mind of its own today. So these are just a couple slides of some different parklets we've done through the years. This was an accessible one that we did on Harvard Street. We've nicknamed this the Barbie Parklet because we bought all this furniture when the Barbie movie came out. And this is all accessible furniture, and even the planters are accessible as well. And with this one, we try to plant herbs and kind of aromatics so people can kind of get up close. We have done a parklet in the past, so the Teens of Brookline. This one was a lot of fun. I was involved in this one. So the teens designed it. They picked the furniture out, the plants, and then they actually, as you can see, helped us paint and install the parklet. That one was fun. And then we actually get a lot of love on social media for our parklets on Instagram. People share pictures of their animals. And then one of the things we have in a couple of our parklets, if we painted the insides with chalkboard paint, and we had people leave messages and draw pictures, and knock on wood, 3 years and counting, or 4 years and counting, we have had nothing inappropriate show up on them. So we call that a win. And then this year. So these are our proposed locations for 2025. As you can see, there is 1 less parklet because we've decided the village is not a great place this year due to the Paris School project that already has put strains on the parking, so we don't want to contribute to that. So you'll see 2 of the locations are the same as last year, Clearflower and Craft Zone, both in Coolidge Corner. And then our new location this year is in front of Coolidge Corner in the Citizens Bank. And that is to tie this parklet, and we're working with the Center Street parking lot team to kind of tie that parklet to their activation project that they're going to do in the month of June. So we're still working on that, exactly how that's going to connect, but that's the idea for that. So that is my short and sweet presentation, and I am happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Well, thank you very much. I'm a huge fan of the parklets personally and love to use them. Disappointed you're not going to be in the village this year. Understand why. And next year, have several suggestions for wonderful places to put them.
Ooh, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so we look forward to hopefully, well, when the Pierce project, if it ever ends, we'll be able to get back into the village. But I think this is a great idea. Question, are you looking for us to take action on this tonight, or are you just being very polite and letting us know what's going on?
I'm not exactly sure if it's an action item or not, so.
No action required, just a friendly update.
Yes, there it is. Okay, cool. Questions on parklets? Wendy.
Just to clarify, they're completely separate from outdoor dining, right? Like there's still the outdoor dining as a separate thing? Okay.
We actually try not, I know we have Clearflower, but we try not to partner with a restaurant because so many of them do outlet dining, but we try to partner with a business that helps us keep an eye on the parklet and help, keep an eye on the trash, let us know if anything's broken.
Okay, so
And I
this
will
is
say,
just open to the public. It's not tied to a business.
yep. And this year, a couple of them are going to have a new line of umbrellas. We're trying out metal ones, so we're interested to see how that will work because they all have a sun issue for sure.
We hope. Cool. Jonathan.
Curious about the funding. How long is that funding source going to last for? How many more years?
This is we actually just spent all the last money. It had to be spent by December of last year. So we have the first kind of round we purchased furniture because we didn't have as much money, but this year we have replaced all the original furniture with very high quality commercial furniture that should last 10 plus years. So we're hoping to keep doing this with the cost just being the plants and the lumber.
Oh, cool.
Because we also invested in a new line of planters that are self-watering. So we're hoping that will also help us on our watering, given the drought that happened last year.
Great. Thank you.
Well, cool, Jesse, please keep going. Love to see more of these throughout the town. No need necessarily to keep our public ways for automobile storage, especially in the summer when there's fewer folks around. So make some parks. Cool. Thank you. Thanks for the update. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
We're going to move on to our next item, which is formation and appointment of the Beacon Street Bridle Path Design Review Committee. Amy Ingalls, I think this one's from you.
Hey, Brian, this one's actually me tonight.
But she sent the memo. Damn it.
Okay, so just give some history. The Beacon Street Bridle Path project, it's will restore the Olmsted Historic Bridle Path as a shared use path along Beacon Street. In 2023, there was a feasibility study drafted by Tool Design Group, and it confirmed the project's viability and outlined a preferred concept for the bridle path. The study and concept were shaped by significant public input through open houses, surveys, and site walks. $2 million in federal funds and $1 million in matching town funds have been secured to advance the project to 75% design plans. And an RFP was issued for design services, and Tool Design team with H&TP was selected. Tool was also the consultant that drafted the preferred concept and feasibility study. The project is anticipated to be a MassDOT funded transportation improvement project and will be reviewed by MassDOT Project Review Committee this May for entry into TIP projects, also what they call the universe of projects. And once it's submitted, that will secure our place as a TIP project. The Design Review Committee is being formed by you guys, the Transportation Board, which has authority over matters related to parking and transportation on the public ways. The DRC will work with town staff, the Tool Design Group, H&TP, and the public to help guide the preliminary 25% design that will be submitted to MassDOT. And that design will also be sent to the Transportation Board and Select Board for their approvals. The members will represent various boards and commissions and advisory groups of Brookline and also the business and residents along the corridor. The committee is expected to meet 6 to 12 times over the next 16 months. Base plans are being prepared now, and likely the DRC's first meeting will be in late spring or early fall, and we'll avoid the July and August holiday months. We're still working to recruit residential direct abutters for neighborhoods. So tonight, we're just appointing representatives that were selected by chairs of the advisory committees and commissions and the business representatives. Also, tonight we have Bill Smith here. He'll be the project director from the Brookline Engineering Transportation Department. And we also have some of the design review committee applicants that have applied. And if the chair would allow, I think Bob Miller is in the audience if he wants to say anything on his application, maybe a brief introduction and why his interest in the design review committee. And we also have Len and Nancy who have both applied from the transportation board. Nancy is a late addition to the memo. Sorry about the miscommunication, but she does want to, is interested in also being on the committee. And tonight we're also asking if the board could discuss who could chair and vice chair that committee, probably the transportation board reps. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask any of the applicants, or I can get more information if you need it. And we'll be back at a later month to appoint the neighborhood representatives. We're reaching out. We got a lot of applicants, but only a few direct abutters. So we're going to try and get more residential direct abutters, and we'll have them appointed at a later meeting. And if there's any questions, let me know.
Yeah, so just procedurally, Dan, are you looking for us to name the individuals? What sort of a vote were you envisioning for this?
It's up to you. We could name them. I have them ready. I could read it out loud. And we're just forming the committee.
So we're forming the committee and theoretically approving its charge, I assume, right?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Miller, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. If you would like to unmute, we would love to hear you briefly describe your interest in serving on the Design Review Committee.
Okay. I wasn't able to unmute myself at first. So anyway, thank you very much. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm very excited about representing the Bicycle Advisory Committee in this endeavor. I think that the bridle path can be not only a boon for people who want to use Beacon Street as a means to go back and forth between Boston and Newton, but, and within, obviously, for people who live in Brookline and commuting to other places. But I think that this can be a real benefit for all of the users of Beacon Street, including all of the merchants and all of the businesses. And I think it's a really exciting project, and I am thrilled to be a part of it. And I would welcome any questions anybody has.
Well, thank you for your interest in serving, both on the Bicycle Advisory Committee and on this. We appreciate your volunteerism. Dan. Nope.
Right.
Dan, put your hand
Just
down.
for the members here, Eric Stone was going to join, but he couldn't stay past 7:30. But he was here earlier, and he wanted to share with the board that he's eager to represent the Shared Mobility Advisory Committee and the Bridle Path Design Review Committee, with a focus on the perspective of mass transit, blue bikes, bicycle scooter riders, and other shared mobility users, ideally ensuring an improvement in safety and accessibility as a result of the project. A bit more specifically, he intends to use data to the best visibility as a statistician to qualify these perspectives and impact where possible.
Thank you. So just for folks' edification, the proposed DRC is Len and Nancy from the Transportation Board, a select board member to be appointed by themselves later. Robert Miller, who we just heard from, Jonathan Phillips from the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Eric Stone, we just heard a statement from him from the Shared Mobility Advisory Committee. Someone from the Committee on Disability, either Jim Lee or someone, I suppose, that they would appoint. Elton Elpern, representing the Preservation Commission. Clara Batchelor from the Parks and Rec Commission. Lily Wallace of EDAB. Rachel Swanson from Safe Routes to School. Hugh Madison from the Tree Planting Committee. Hugh reached out to me today, maybe yesterday, and basically did apply. So he wants to do it. And then we want to do the business owners tonight, right, Dan?
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Business
So representing the St. Mary's Lower Beacon business area, John Bajakian, owner of the iStore in the St. Mary's area. For representing the Washington Square Upper Beacon area, Eilish Gilligan from the where is she from? Washington Square Tavern, and the Small Business Development Committee, And representing Coolidge Corner and Corey Hill, Maury Zapoznik from the Olive Connection. And as was stated, we will get to neighborhood folks the next time. So those are the folks that the staff are recommending be appointed. Dan, I see you raised your hand, so I clearly said something wrong.
Nope, just to clarifying, Jim Lee is did apply to be the rep, so he'll be representing the commission.
Jim does great work. And the design review committee, let's see, do we know? Okay, so what is their charge going to be? So their charge is to review the consultant's proposals and make recommendations to the transportation board in advance of a 25% design submission to the Department of Transportation.
Yeah, I think they'll work with town staff, the consultants, and the public to guide the development of the preliminary 25% design plan. They'll vote on that. That will bring to you guys. So their charge is to advance to the preliminary 25% design plan.
Okay. And I would recommend Len serve as co-chair along with a member from the select board if they want. Len, if that's all right with you. And I'd nominate Nancy to be the vice chair because she's full of vice. No, Nancy, of course not. But if you're willing to do that, I think that'd be very good. Is anyone okay with that? Everyone okay with that? Anyone object to that? It's mostly Len or Nancy.
It's okay.
You're very good. Thank you. Thanks, Len. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Anybody from the public want to comment on this item? I'm sure the DRC will have lots of opportunity to hear from folks. So with that said, can someone make a motion to approve the committee membership charge and leadership as I just said very verbosely? I'll take that as a move from Wendy and a second from Richard. And Dan, since you did the item, you get to call the roll.
Brian?
I'm a yes. Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Len?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
And Nancy?
Yes.
It passes. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Thanks for serving, and I look forward to hearing progress reports on how it's going. And good luck. We'll move on to our next item, which is item 5C. Discussion and acceptance of the Vision Zero Action Plan and adoption of the Vision Zero Resolution. Ooh.
Hey, Brian. Yeah.
Damn. Take it away,
I have,
sir.
I have the same feeling. Yeah, we're really excited about what we're bringing to the board tonight. I'll be presenting the first part before I hand it off to our consultant, and then let Amy come into close. But I'll just start by saying a thank you to Len, thank you to all members of the Vision Zero Committee who have been working with us for over a year now to develop this plan. There's been a lot of great conversations and questions, and I really think that this action plan will serve as a guide for us as we work to make our streets safer for everyone in Brookline, and really help us prioritize which roads in town are in the most need of safety improvement. So I'm just gonna share my screen quickly. Oh, Alexis, I see you. Hello. Would you be willing to drive? I think I can make you co-host. Are you able to share? Sweet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Has everyone seen the correct screen?
Sure can.
Excellent.
For those of you who do not know, I'd love to introduce Alexis and Jason. I don't think anyone else from Tool is here. Alexis has been the project manager for Tool, leading this effort for the last year and a half with the Brookline team. And in a minute here, I'll hand it over. Alexis, anything else before I just hop into them? No? Great. So for those of you who like to play GeoGuessr, I think you can tell that this is Cypress and Washington Street. But go to the next slide. So as I said, about a year and a half process. The committee has met, I think, six or seven times over that time, and has provided meaningful feedback on the action plan and the resolution that you're going to see tonight. The Tool team, again, has been, quintessential in the development of this plan, and a lot of the data analysis that goes into the Vision Zero process. So the creation of the toolbox, which we'll eventually talk about, and the strategies that we implement as part of Vision Zero are a key aspect. But in addition to that, there's a significant amount of data analysis that goes into this. And I don't want to steal, too many of the numbers, but I'll talk about the safe systems approach in a second. And so we'll talk about the high priority network and the implementation strategies. We'll then talk about the commitment, and then I'll hand it over to Amy to talk about the Safe Streets for All grant opportunities and what happens next for Vision Zero. So the safe systems approach. So the Vision Zero commitment is, as many of you know, is to eliminate all fatalities and severe injuries. From 2019 to 2023, which again, I don't know if I'm stealing this from someone else, but Brookline experienced over 450 injuries in that 5-year period, and that included 3 fatalities. So these things are preventable, and that is one of the goals of Vision Zero, is to understand that we can educate, we can redesign, and we can implement measures that can eliminate these serious injuries from happening. So we can proactively look at those streets that are at the highest risk for these crashes and these injuries to occur, and make sure that we are implementing the best strategies to reduce speeds and reduce the likelihood of crashes. And so by that, we will look at the different types of infrastructure that we can install, rapid flashing beacons, chicanes, speed humps, many of the things that I talked about. Next slide, please, Leslie. So speed, this is a graphic that you've seen before, and you'll see it again. And at this point, it's kind of sad to think that this is 12 years old, but it's still true. And if anything, it's probably skewed even higher. So as you can see, the likelihood of a fatal or severe injury is reduced greatly as speeds are reduced. And this board, in addition to the town governing bodies, took a huge step, I think, when I first started 3 years ago, in designating over 300 local roads as 20-mile-an-hour safety zone signs, or safety zones. And that was a great step in reducing speeds. But we need to continue to implement other strategies to reduce speeds and therefore reduce the likelihood of severe injuries, because accidents will happen, but serious injuries and deaths are preventable. Alexis, next slide. So the safe system approach, as I talked about, we've developed a Vision Zero action plan, which you guys have quick read, 116 pages, I think. And then the Vision Zero commitment, which we'll be talking about shortly here in the form of the resolution that will go to the select board. And then from there, we will look at the implementation of the strategies in that plan and tackling the high injury network and the future of Vision Zero and how we report out the progress that we make and the data that we analyze in the coming years. Am I still going here?
No, I think I'm taking over here, and I only have one point of clarification on your slide, Sam. Without appendices, the plan is 63 pages long, which is like a chapter book. Yeah.
Okay. my fault. 116 with appendices, but the appendices are some of the best parts, so you can't miss out on those maps.
Don't miss the appendices. But thank you for the intro, Sam. Want to talk a little bit more about the planning process for the Vision Zero action plan. So these are the approximate steps that we went through over the last year and a half. So there was a public engagement process to understand concerns and experiences of people who use Brookline streets, and spread awareness of Vision Zero. Because like Sam was saying, it starts from understanding that these serious injuries and fatalities are preventable, and really spreading that throughout the town. And we did a considerable amount of safety analysis, looking both at where crashes happen, but also just the general characteristics of them. So what are the crash severities? What modes are involved? What are the most common circumstances leading to a crash? And we looked at that for 5 years of town crash data. And so we worked to establish a baseline that the town can measure progress against in the coming years, understand those broad safety issues, and then identify specific high priority locations for infrastructure change. We reviewed a number of existing plans and policies to align the town's approach to Vision Zero with related goals, and also identify opportunities to strengthen policy on transportation safety. That's a big emphasis of the Safe System approach, is to look beyond individual projects, but opportunities to change policies that will shape the way that routine matters are handled. And then finally, all of this is wrapped up into an action plan that we will go through in a little bit more detail. And so want to shout out the Vision Zero committee. I believe a couple members are present tonight. So we had representatives from the Transportation Board, the Select Board, the Bicycle Advisory Committee, the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and the Safe Routes to School Task Force, as well as a couple resident members. And this whole process was guided by the Vision Zero committee and informed by their input as liaisons to these other bodies. And so a little bit more about the public engagement process. There was an online map survey in which people could leave comments about specific safety concerns they have throughout the town. There were over 250 unique respondents and over 800 comments on the map. We also held 2 public meetings in June of 2024, had a couple pop-up events at events throughout the summer. And then we also held a focus group with Safe Routes to School advocates. And so some of the highlights of what we heard, and this is specifically from the MAP survey, I'll note that most people who filled out the survey left comments from the perspective of their experience walking and biking. We got a handful of comments from people sharing concerns when they were driving, but this was the bulk of them. So we got a number of comments about accessibility concerns, and as well as yielding at crossings and speeding, as well as visibility. So these were all things that, combined with looking at the crash characteristics, helped us look at what the toolbox of interventions could be for the town of Brookline. And then among people who left comments from their perspective biking, not too surprising, the biggest comment category was there's no dedicated space for bikes, or the bike lane that exists here does not provide a low stress experience. But similar to the pedestrian comments, a number of comments about speed, as well as yielding at intersections and crossings. And so this helped focus us on interventions that calm traffic, as well as improve the motor vehicle yielding behavior. And so all of this came together into a set of strategies, and this is really the core of the action plan. So there are 28 strategies in the action plan organized into these couple of themes. The first is systemic safety interventions, and get to that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But this is a set of strategies to transform the street network systemically to align more with the type of behavior that we want to see and that we know is consistent with the Vision Zero goal, lowering speeds and making the streets safer for all users. Safer street design is very similar, overlapping, but more on the policy side, thinking about, like I said previously, how policies can reinforce those same goals by incorporating that change into routine processes. The behavior change theme is focused primarily on opportunities for automated enforcement, which we know will require state approval. But if and when that comes, just for the town to be prepared to capitalize on automated enforcement as a behavior change strategy. Data collection and monitoring gets back to what Sam was saying about monitoring progress over time towards Brookline's Vision Zero goal. Safer vehicles is an emerging area of focus for MassDOT and focuses on opportunities to align Brookline's vehicle fleet with better safety practices, better visibility for drivers, et cetera. And then finally, mode shift and safety culture identifies some sort of tangential but related opportunities to Vision Zero to encourage people to walk, bike, and take transit more and work towards a little bit of a safety in numbers and greater public awareness effect. And so digging in, or I guess zooming out from that to the action plan as a whole, these various components of the action plan are focused mostly on the systemic safety aspect, but want to kind of explain how they all fit together with one another. And so the high priority network was one of the outputs of the safety analysis, identifying those specific locations. The systemic safety toolbox provides a set of design treatments that are primarily low cost, high impact measures that can be implemented throughout the network. The strategies, like we discussed, do touch on the infrastructure piece, but also go beyond that. Implementation strategy, Amy will tell us a little bit more about in a moment. That's kind of the how does the rubber hit the road? How does this all get implemented along with all of the other projects that are going on with the town? And then finally, progress tracking to monitor that progress. And so this is the high priority network that are the most important streets for safety investments based on analysis and public input. And so this includes 25% of the street network, but 85% of the injury crashes from 2019 to 2023. And perhaps that's not surprising because if you look a little bit more closely, many of these are some of the more highly traveled streets. And so we looked at two main types of analysis. One, based on where crashes have happened in the past. And so that's the MassDOT crash data. And the other is where crashes are likely to happen in the future. And so we did a bunch of risk-based analysis looking at street characteristics that are associated with more serious crashes. And so this can help us identify streets that are at high risk of a severe crash, but where one just hasn't happened yet. And for bicycle risk in particular, we know that people biking tend to avoid streets that feel really unsafe. And so there might not be bike crashes along a street, but that doesn't mean that there isn't risk for a tragedy in the future. And so we tried to capture both, the crashes that have happened in the past and the risk for the future together in this high priority network. And a note on systemic safety and what that means as an approach to implementing these types of projects. It's about installing the same treatments throughout an entire street network, focusing on, instead of tackling streets one at a time, tackling intersections one at a time, finding those opportunities for low cost, high impact interventions that can change behavior at scale. And so what we've seen in some peer communities is that these investments in any one location are amplified by the fact that they're everywhere, and they can change people's expectations about how you get around Brookline. And so here's an example from West Hartford, Connecticut, which also went through a Vision Zero process recently. This is all of their planned locations for RFBs, or rectangular rapid flashing beacons. And so this is an example of how they identified a number of similar locations with similar types of risk and are just doing the same thing at all of them. Here, I will pass it to Amy.
Thanks, Alexis. So she was talking about the systemic improvements that are part of the plan. And so this is kind of where we can start applying those systemic pieces of the toolbox. You'll see in the blue box there, that's the list of the different things that we have in the toolbox. And then we have the high priority network that Alexis also mentioned. And so this implementation strategy is where those two things come together. So it looks at all the different streets on the high priority network, sometimes breaking them up into segments, if that makes sense, and assigning different tools in the toolbox to them that are appropriate for the context and the need. And so they're also prioritized by segment based on a lot of different factors. Risk is one of them. Risk and crash history is one of them, but also, maybe land use is another thing we looked at, so maybe access to a school or a park or things like that. So we have these, basically ready to go project initiatives that are prioritized that we can start, looking into funding very quickly. And that's great because hopefully we will get through all the approvals for our FY26 funding in the next few weeks, and that will include Vision Zero funding that's currently proposed for implementation. That's $500,000. So we can certainly do a lot of great things from the toolbox with that. And these things in the toolbox too, they're the things that we know that are just very useful in almost any situation. And we know, we have lots of data over the years in lots of different places that backs this up. These are tried and true tested methods. So, things like curb extensions and daylighting, for example, that can be used in so many different places. If there's a crosswalk, there's definitely ways that you can, make it so that the intersection doesn't have any parking near it, and you can see that crosswalk better. That's kind of something that you could apply to almost any crosswalk. Alexis mentioned the RFBs. That's another thing that we can put in so many places. We get lots of requests for those. So this is the kind of stuff that, we can really address very quickly. Oh, and regarding the map here, this is a map of some planned projects that we have going on through other means. And so that's really important because as John Van Scoik mentioned earlier in the meeting, very helpfully, we've written new policies or updated old policies in order to kind of try to take a bunch of our initiatives and kind of fold them together and dovetail them and make sure that we're doing as much as we can at once. So, for example, if we're doing a resurfacing project on a street, we look at the Vision Zero plan, we look at complete streets, we look at all these different initiatives to see if maybe we can do something besides just the resurfacing and making that street safer. So these are the plans, some planned projects that we have going on that are that would really dovetail well with Vision Zero implementation. Next. All right, so another big component is the commitment to Vision Zero, the resolution. The committee did a lot of really great work creating this and coming up with something that I think is really solid. We're hoping that will be part of the Transportation Board's vote tonight. Basically, this resolution explains Vision Zero, why it's important, what it can do, and it sets a goal of achieving Vision Zero, that's zero traffic deaths and serious injuries on our streets by 2035. And through that's, and it ties that that goal to the implementation of the action plan. So it's a really critical piece. What it also does is it establishes the Transportation Board as the kind of overseeing body for implementing the action plan, and also the vehicle by which the staff can bring progress reports as we implement the plan. Next. I think Sam mentioned this towards the beginning. This is a federal grant, Safe Streets and Roads for All, that has stuck around, thankfully, from the U.S. Department of Transportation, and they've really put in a lot of money into this. And it's only a few years old, but several municipalities across the country have done some really just really game-changing projects with this. You see some pretty decent price tags on there. You can do a lot of RFPs for $25 million. So, this is a really great opportunity. And why that's relevant here is not just because, that the Vision Zero Action Plan is all about safety, and so is this grant. Actually, the presence of this Vision Zero Action Plan makes us eligible to apply for this grant. So, that's part of the reason that we did this, so we can get access to some of this great grant funding. And we'll be talking, staff will be talking together about how we can take the recommendations of the Vision Zero Action Plan and come up with a package that's as competitive as possible to get some of this great grant funding. Next. So yeah, that's kind of one of our next steps is to think about what we want to do to apply for this grant. And then next steps here in our meeting for the Transportation Board is to vote to adopt the plan and also the Vision Zero resolution.
Okay. Thank you very much. So this one is really, really important, especially, it's important to all of us, so it's very important to me. So, unfortunately, we sort of kicked this whole process off in December of 2001, following the death of Patricia Arniello on Downing Road. And it was sort of then that the wheels for this really started to move. And I know that it's quick by Brookline measures to be done in a year, but it really has been a 3.5-year minimum process to get to this point. So I'm really happy we're here. In the intervening 3.5 years, we have had other fatalities on our public ways. As the name implies, one is too many. So if we can use the tools in this toolkit and these policies and potentially the additional funding to slow down one car and prevent one tragedy, it's worth it to me. And people often like to complain about the Transportation Board is all about bikes, and it's all about pedestrians, and it's all about this, and it's all about that. To me, it's about slowing down cars and making people safe. That's why we do this. I don't see bike projects. I don't see ped projects. I see slowing down car projects, and that's what I'm interested in. Because one is too many, as I've said before, and I know it's become cliche at this point, but it really is true. So I'm very grateful to you, Alexis, Jason Atul, and to the committee, Mike Sandman especially, Len, and for serving on this. Thank you. And thanks to the other members, David Trevette, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, who got us to this point. And I think it's important now that we sort of approve this and that we take those next steps and not let this just be symbolic, but also let it be something, a living document that we can utilize to slow down cars. And I know all of us have projects that we would like to see around where we live, or where our kids go to school, or where our parents like to hang out, or where we like to walk or even drive. And I hope that this can help us get there. So anybody on the board want to say anything about Vision Zero? Nancy, go ahead, please.
I just have a question. So I wasn't here earlier when Select Person Van Scoyoc spoke, but I did read his remarks that were submitted earlier. And I guess I just want to better understand how the funding works. So I understand from Amy's presentation that there may be some special grants that we can get that we would not have otherwise had access to. So that sort of extra money that we wouldn't have had towards our other projects. There was there's a $500,000 funding source that was mentioned. I don't know where that comes from, whether that's a special allocation, again, that's dedicated to this project that couldn't be used to other. And I understand there's a lot of, they're not like completely separate, that obviously the projects that we have ongoing and our priority, we just passed our new policy that's going to, prioritize projects for the Transportation Board. How does this mesh in terms of funding priorities? I just, if Amy or someone else could talk a little bit about that. And I guess a sort of looming question in my mind is, are these federal grants going to stay around, or is there any concern that they might be eliminated? I mean, we're certainly hearing lots of talk about various grants being canceled. I'm just curious, whatever thoughts you have on that.
Yeah, so I'll take the second part first. So the federal grant just came out for this most recent round. Just got released, so it is at least existing for this round. There was some question about that for sure, but they just put out the notice for people to apply. So as far as town funding, knowing that we have this plan that's been underway, when we started the beginning of our FY 2016 budget process, I requested a line item for starting to implement some of these projects, and through the various channels so far, that has come through. We still have to a few more channels that we have to go through to get that 100% approved in town meeting, but we're getting there. We're getting close. It's still there, and I think that there's a lot of support for keeping it around, and hopefully it can be something that's annual, because we certainly have the need for it. We've got a whole document showing exactly how we can spend it, so I intend to do that, and hopefully they'll give us more each year.
And I'll comment on the meshing part of your question, which is, we're not going to talk about this. I mean, this project's going to keep coming up, but like Chestnut Hill Ave, for example, was like the first attempt, which we learned a lot from, as I said earlier, at meshing a project that was already planned with added safety improvements. And so, our team has worked really hard to put together a 5-year, pavement management plan. And we now need to just work, backwards, knowing which roads we're going to be repaving and thinking about what Vision Zero principles we can incorporate as part of those projects. And, use that pot of money, use the Vision Zero money that Amy advocated for, on top of the resurfacing. We have roadway funds to repave roads, but, if we need to use Vision Zero funds to install rapid flashing beacons and speed humps on the road as we're repaving it, that means that we're going to be doing the most with the least, spending the least amount of money but getting a really effective result by being able to apply the Vision Zero money when we're resurfacing roads. So we're really trying to work together. We are working together to make this a seamless process.
Wendy, why don't you go ahead, please?
So I have a kind of follow-up to Nancy's question, and just for comparison. So the complete streets policy how does this compare, in terms of the cost? And like, for instance, for the project that we're not going to talk anymore about for Chestnut Hill Ave, is that like, would that have had to be a complete streets design project under the, complete
So
street?
in the simplest way, it is the separation or the renewal of the complete streets policy is allowing us to fix the sidewalk on Chestnut Hill Avenue in only the locations that need it, and retain the rest of the sidewalk that is still in good condition, instead of replacing all sidewalks along the entire road, which would, in the past has greatly reduced the amount of roads that we were able to redo, because we would need to replace all the sidewalks anytime when we were repaving the whole road. And now we're able to repave the whole road and just improve the sidewalks in the locations that we need. Amy, I saw you unmuted. Hopefully.
Yeah, just about the piece of the question regarding the cost. Generally speaking, a lot of the pieces in the recommendations in the toolbox are low cost, and that was kind of by design. Alexis mentioned several times like the low cost, high impact approach that we've been taking to this. So yeah, generally speaking, we can do a whole lot more with less.
So it's less
than
money than
zeros.
complete streets, but you wouldn't necessarily do all the projects for complete streets. So it's like, you're not necessarily saving money, but you are getting a little bit more done. Is that the?
I don't know. What do you mean by you wouldn't necessarily do all the projects for the streets? Sorry.
I mean, if you had to do them as complete street projects, they'd be more costly, right? So you do fewer. Is that what you're saying? Or
fewer complete streets projects? Yeah. So I mean, like Sam was saying, we're trying to prioritize the funding that we put into complete streets where it's needed most. So we're not going to redo a whole sidewalk. We're going to redo just the parts that really need it, and then we can spend that money on a true like complete streets project reconstruction, for example, like something like Washington Street. We have, yes, that's something that is getting outside funding for the most part, but we've also spent a good amount of town dollars on moving that forward. So that one's a pretty big example, but there could be a smaller example as well.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, any members of the public like to make a comment on this item? I don't see any hands shooting up, so we'll assume that is taken care of. So let me come back to the board. We are asked to approve a resolution, I believe, in our packet.
If I could just quickly comment on the resolution, special thank you to Emily Jacobson, Len Woolley, and David Trevette, who drafted this resolution based off of examples from other communities such as West Hartford. And in our last Vision Zero committee, which took place at the beginning of this month, we reviewed it as a committee, made minor modifications to it, and ultimately unanimously passed the resolution, which we hope the board will adopt tonight and send to the select board for official adoption at some point, either the end of May or in early June.
Thank you, Sam. Yes, and I neglected to mention Emily Jacobson earlier. We don't thank Emily enough for all she does for transportation in Brookline. Thank you, Emily, as well. So I'm going to read the language. Staff recommends that the board, so I guess this would be the language somebody could move, that the Transportation Board accepts the Vision Zero action plan for staff to use as a planning document, formally adopts the Vision Zero resolution, this resolution establishing a goal for zero deaths and serious injuries due to traffic crashes on Brookline streets. And I'm going to suggest we add, recommend the select board do the same. Okay, Wendy.
Sorry, but I just going back to the earlier discussion about kind of when this is applied and what happens, to sort of settle you know, issues if neighbors come and they don't want the Vision Zero design. Is there, like, is there precedent in other communities? Let me put it this way, for like for guiding, like when this policy is applied, like what trumps what, I guess? Like, how do you sort of deal with these conflicts where it's like we have these guidelines and we have a resolution, but then we have like individual people who say, well, this is a good idea in theory, but I don't want it right here for this project. Like, how do other towns deal with that?
Yeah, I think some of that's going to have to be worked out one by one. You know, these projects, some of them will not necessarily need a robust public involvement piece. For example, putting up an RFB. That's not taking space away from anybody else. It's not changing the regulation on the crosswalk. It's literally just an enhancement to show, you know, people that the crosswalk is there. Some of these other ones, such as a bump out, for example, that could take away a parking space. We might need to have a little bit more involvement in that. But again, that's still just one, maybe two parking spaces. That's pretty minimal compared to you know, a full redesign of the street, for example. Not to say that that's not something that could come from Vision Zero, but that's not the bulk of it, is a full corridor redesign. These are more about kind of targeted improvements, often at intersections, but not always, that are kind of more of that low cost, big impact kind of approach.
So I guess it's an art, not a science, Wendy. I know I've said that before. I guess that if there's a project on one of the streets that is on the plan, then the Vision Zero funding and toolkit would be then available to utilize. Doesn't necessarily mean it will be utilized. Except that we might put RFBs in lots of places because, like Amy said, they don't take away from anything. And I think it would be any moving infrastructure or taking away parking that would sort of trigger a more robust community process.
We do plan to keep the board appraised to our Vision Zero, you know, improvements. And as Brian is alluding to, if there is a need for an approval, it will come to the board. But if, like, we will still, whether it be in the DPW update or similar, like keep you all appraised to what improvements we do make. If it is an RFB or curb extension or signal timing change that doesn't technically need the board's approval. And, you know, if we are fortunate enough to get the SS4A grant, as Amy previously discussed, the grants looking for applications over broad areas. And so if we were, you know, not to get the cart before the horse, but, you know, we would be looking at making improvements across like 20 intersections or 30 intersections. And so, you know, we would want to have a robust, but, you know, parallel discussion about all those intersections at once. You know, you saw West Hartford put in 40 RFBs, and it might remove 40 parking spaces, but we would come to the board with that.
So. Okay, so Wendy, you okay? Okay. So I read the language. Oh, David Trevette, I wasn't sure, I didn't know you were here. You're always here. David, we'd love to hear from you, sir.
This is just a very minor comment in the staff memo on this. There was just a funny phrase in, I think it's on the second page, under Vision Zero resolution. It says the accompanying resolution adopted by the select board and recommended for adoption by the transportation board, as if somehow this has already been adopted by the select board, which it has not. So I was confused by that, and I'm hoping somebody can either explain or update and correct that language. Thank you.
David, you're right. I mean, it's going to go to the select board. It has to go to the select board after the transportation board. So I'm sure the sentence is just it's just miswritten. So the editor, not surprised. Thank you for catching that, David.
Yeah, I often write reports for committees to be sent to full boards that you're assuming will be approved in the future, and you write it in the wrong tense. So, yeah, but I think it's clear what we're trying to do here. So we are, the Transportation Board by this vote is approving the use of the toolkit of the Vision Zero Action Plan as a planning document for staff, and we're adopting a resolution establishing a goal of 0 deaths and recommending that the select board also do the same. So that is that, you know what, I will make that motion because I feel strongly about it. So I will make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Sam, you're unmuted. Why don't you call the roll?
Brian,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Len,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and Jonathan.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody for all the hard work. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Tool Design. So we did new business already, Nancy. I moved that to the top of the agenda so we could discuss Chestnut Hill Avenue. But Jonathan, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Oh, just because I didn't notice new business closed technically at that time.
Well, let's keep going then,
I
sir.
would like to note again that the Department of Transportation would like to give a briefing at some point to the Brookline Transportation Board regarding the $1 billion project just to our north.
Okay.
They are approaching several major submissions, including an environmental impact statement and interchange modification report for the summer.
Okay.
So it would be a good idea, considering the construction impacts that will cause to our town, as well as the new bus and bicycle connections heading north-south, to hear from them.
Okay. Do you mind trying to connect those folks with us? And I can assure you that if anyone unmutes and swears at a presenter during our meeting, I will personally go to their residence and sort them out.
Yeah, they appear to have solved that problem.
Uh-huh. Okay. So yeah, if you don't mind, just connect us, Jonathan. Honestly, I've been trying to avoid that project like a plague. So,
Yep, but it's going to come someday in whatever form it comes in. And
my professional life.
We don't get a lot of say in this project, but it's
Yep.
several hundred feet away from us.
Indeed. We
Which
will
is
do that. Thank you.
disturbing.
Thank you. So yes, we'll definitely get that on a future agenda because it is very important. Anybody else have any additional new business?
If anyone wants to join on the Boston Bike to Work Day, it's the morning of May 16th, and I will be leading the 7:20 a.m. group from Coolidge Corner.
To Town Hall?
No, to Boston City Hall. Next year we'll do
You can bike from my house to Town Hall if you want. That'd be cool. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Without objection, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone.